today I'm going to start putting together the Pico RGB Keypad that I covered in one of my previous mail bags. It's time to start playing with this thing and seeing how it works. And it came with some hardware that I have here. And we have the base, and I've actually already put on the little rubber feet that went on it. And then the rest is pretty simple, but there are a few things to watch out for as you put it together, I think. First is you can choose to put it, this piece here, whichever way you want. So you can have the black or this gold pattern. I think I'm going to go for the gold. And then we got to put the pads on. So this is where it's going to engage down here when we press on it, and you can see the little RGB LED underneath the pad. So we got to get this on right, and there's some knobs here. I'll bring it up a little bit closer. You see there's some little knobs, and we want those to seat into this, I think. So you can see there's holes in here for us to line it up. So there is a sort of only one way to put this thing on. So we'll try to line them up and get them in there. And if we do it right, then we'll see the little knobs come through the holes there underneath. So that seems to be the right way to have it on. So we'll do that. And then, like I said, I'm going to choose to use this color first instead of the black. And the other thing I think we have to be careful of is if we want these numbers to mean anything here, I think this one here is going to be 0. And you can see 0. So I'm going to slide it on like that. So that looks pretty good. So now all we need to do is just put the screws in. So I'm going to try to put it through, push them in. And yeah, it's coming through. They seem to fit pretty good, so I'm going to try to, I don't think they're going to fall out on me. Well, they're a little fiddly, aren't they? In between that button. Push it through. There's one. Got that one in. So 2 more. Let's push that one through. There we go. And the last one. Get that through. Alright. They seem to be through pretty good. Hopefully they won't fall out on me on the other side. So I'm going to use my finger to sort of push them through. And I'm just going to put these little, wow, they're really small. So a little bit of a challenge to get them on there. Alright, there we go. Got one started. That's good. Let's get all of them started, I think. And then as I was reading on the instructions, it said to be a little bit careful about not tightening these up too much, because then I guess you're going to force the little silicone pads to be contacted all the time, and we don't want that. I'll put it like this. There we go. Get it on. And the last one. Get this one on here as well. Oops. Came off on me. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit. Use my handy little, and I'm kind of holding the back with my finger to try to keep the nut from turning. And I'm just going to tighten it till I feel it coming through. And it said you didn't want it to bulge right in here. So I already see a little bit of a bulge, so I'm probably going to stop there. And, I guess if you over tighten it, once you get it going, you can always loosen it up a little bit too. So it might be a little tight because I see a little bit of a bulge. Alright, so I'll tighten this one just a little bit too. Yeah, little bulge there. And then just a little tighten here as well. Let's look at the back. So it's relatively flush. And there seems to be some space in there, so And it looks like I've kind of gotten the bolts all to the same height with the nut, so I think that'll work. So that gets that ready. And the next thing I want to do is there's pins already here on the side, so you can use all the Pico pins as well. I mean, obviously the keypad's taking up, I think, the I2C, but all the other GPIO pins are available to us. So I've been debating about, I want to put some headers in here so I can use them easily in prototyping and cooking things up. I don't think I'm going to turn it into a permanent project at this point. I kind of want to use it so I can, you know, kind of experiment with it. So I had this idea. You could choose, you know, you got two different kinds of headers here that you could choose. You could choose, you know, to use these, or you could choose to use these, and whether, you know, it's kind of what you want to, you know, plug into. Do you want to plug into that, or do you want to plug into that? I'm going to go with this. Kind of looks like an Arduino, you know, being able to plug into it. And I think that's a little more secure. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's all a matter of your own choice. So I'm going to use these. So I actually started to work on this. I cut this one down to the right size to fit in here. So I'll just show you what that's going to look like. It's going to fit here, and then I'm going to solder it on. I'll tack it on the back side here, tack it into place. So that's the idea. And then I can, you know, use my jumper cables, and I can connect other things to it. I'm especially interested in connecting maybe a display to this. So that's my plan next, is to do that. If you're going to use this kind and you've never done it before, you know, usually you get them in these lengths here. It's not the length that you necessarily want. And the unfortunate thing about these is that you have to sacrifice one of your pins here as you make your cut to make the size that you need. So this one's already sized. I'm going to line it up, so I've got to clip this one right here. So there we go. Slice it. You can see this one has to fall out. So once you do that, you can see it doesn't look particularly nice. It looks kind of a little rough. And the other thing you can do, I've done sometimes, is I get a piece of sandpaper and I'll just kind of sand it a little bit to make it look a little nicer, smoother, not quite so rough looking. A little more professional, I don't know. I guess that looks okay. Certainly, you kind of want to be a little careful not to sand into the next one. So that probably looks good enough. So let's just make sure, double check and make sure I did them the right length. Yeah, that's gonna be right. So next step will be to solder this on. So now let's get set up to do the soldering. We have to have some way to hold on to these headers that we made. So the normal approach that a lot of people use is some sort of a breadboard way of holding it. So I'm going to use these headers in the breadboard. So I'm just going to place them where they should be for the spacing for these rows. So that'll work. And these don't have to be the exact right size. These are just some I have around that are good enough. I'm going to take the headers that I am going to use, and I'm going to work on it upside down. So I'm going to put them this way and slide them on. And it's not perfect. I mean, they wiggle a little bit, so we're going to have to be a little bit careful to try to make sure we really get this good and straight when we're actually doing the soldering. And I'm not a great person at soldering, so it could be a bit messy. I will not say I have any kind of expertise at that, but I can make it work usually. There we go. I've got it down, and I've got the pins are through, and there's pins in every hole, so looks like I made everything the right size. And it kind of looks like the little buttons are going to kind of help keep it level, so that's nice. So that's how I'm going to work on it. So next it's time to get out the soldering iron and maybe something to hold this up a little bit too, keep it nice and flat. So I'm going to put some flux on here. So I have flux pen. And I tend to be very liberal with it because I'm not very good at soldering, and it seems like flux covers up for not necessarily being a great solderer. So hopefully that was enough. And got my iron good and hot. I'll just put a little tin on here. And look at that. Now I have a nice little magnifying glass. I want to put this light on. I hope it's not going to be too bad for the video, but we'll see. Maybe I can correct it because I really need it. So yeah, I ended up only doing one at a time. After I tried to set this all up, I found that it was hard to keep them nice and straight. So I'm going to double check, make sure it's straight. Turn on my fan here. There we go. I'm probably going to do a voiceover after this. That thing makes a lot of noise. And, try our best to do this. It's okay. Gonna take the corners first. There we go. That's all right. And we'll come back here and catch this back one as well. 2 and 3. It's hard to get over that little foot. There we go. That's on there. Not too much. So we'll put a little more of our flux on. Both sides here, flux, ends. It's on everybody. It seems to flow so much better when you use this. Right, the first one went okay. It wasn't as straight as I had hoped. I'll double check it. Yeah, it seems a little wobble. Every time I touch it, it kind of bends over a little bit. And that's going to be good enough. Now we can see what it looks like here. I'm a little embarrassed about how crooked this one came out. It did a little better with this one. So that looks good. And it won't be in the way of anything, so that's fine. It's a little on the crooked side. So, yeah, looks all right. To program our keypad, we'll need to download the Pimoroni MicroPython build, because that'll have the library that they've written for the keypad. So we'll scroll down, and we'll find a section called Software. There it is. And we need to download the Pirate brand MicroPython. So we'll click on that, and that'll bring up the GitHub page for their MicroPython builds. And you can see there's actually several of them to choose from. And there's 2 of them that we could choose from for us. It would be the Pico if you just have a regular Pico, or the Pico W if you have a Pico W. So I have a regular Pico, so I'm going to click on that one. And we're downloading that. It's a small file, so it should go relatively quickly. There we go. So now we'll need to get the Pico into the mode that it can accept the new UF2 file from Pimoroni. So to do that, we'll need to press this boot select button as we plug it in to the USB port on our PC. So I have a USB hub here, got it all set up. I have the right type of cable, so we'll make sure we have the orientation correct. Then we're going to press the boot select button and plug it in. So what you should see is the the device shows up as RPI, RP2 as a kind of a USB device on your computer. And what we want to do, I have my downloads folder open where the MicroPython build went. And to flash it, I'm just going to drag it and put it right there. And then we should see a copy over. There we go. So take a little brief amount of time. It copied over, and you notice that it automatically ejected it. So that means it's now flashed, and now we can start to program with this Pico using the Pimoroni MicroPython build. To do a quick test of our keypad, we'll go back to the Pimoroni website and scroll back to the software section, and we'll click on the MicroPython examples. And there you can see we'll open up the GitHub page that has a demo program for the keypad. And if you click on this and download it to your computer, you can run it on the keypad and test everything out. So here's the demo program open in Thonny. We have our keypad all hooked up. So they have a library called Pico Keypad that we can use to operate the keypad. We can initialize it, we can set brightness, we can pull the buttons to see if they've been pressed, and we can illuminate different buttons. This particular program is a little challenging because it uses some bitwise operations to work, which are a little difficult for beginners, myself included, to follow, but it's a very efficient program. It works pretty well. There are other libraries, and I plan on doing at least 2 more videos, one on this Pico Keypad library because I just want to get the challenge of really understanding the bitwise operations and how to efficiently use them. And then there's some other libraries that are a little simpler to use with the keypad that doesn't require as much of the bitwise operations to use. So that's my plan going forward with these videos. Next, let's just go ahead and see this run. So we'll go ahead and click the run button, and we should see, yep, it lit up. So all the buttons are lit white right now, and if we press a button, what happens is it changes it to a particular color. And you can see as we press each button, it changes them to that color. If we press a button again, nothing happens. But as we press all of them, so we'll go ahead and fill up all 16 buttons, you'll see that if I press the next button, it went to white, and then press it again and you get the next color. So let's just do that one more time. So we got yellow. I really like this yellow. Okay, so now it's all yellow, and I'll press another button, it goes back to white. And if I press again, now we'll get red. So you can see that it goes through about 6 different colors and keeps cycling as you press. So pretty simple program, but we can see that we have everything running well, and so it's a good program to check how we're doing. So let's just end this video by playing around a little bit with the simpler functions in the Pico Keypad library. So I've got just a few here so we can get a rough idea of how to change the color of a key and how to clear it out. So first we'll do is we'll import the library and initialize a keypad. So we'll go ahead and put that down here in the shell. So that's done. And now this code up here is the illuminate function, which you give it the number of the key that you want to use, and then the red, green, and blue value of the color you want to illuminate it. So in this case, it's red, green, and blue, and it can be from 0 to 255. So in this case, I'm going to make it all green, and then we use this keypad update function to actually make it take. So I'll go ahead and copy that. See what happens when we do that. There we go. And we can see that button 0 illuminated green. Now if we want to clear that out, we can use the keypad clear function that actually clears all the buttons of any color. So we can do that. So let's paste this down here, and that should turn it off, which it did. And let's say we want to light a different button. So how about button number 5? And I'm going to do a mix of green and blue. So let's try that. There we go, button number 5, nice aqua. So thanks for watching.